So we're going to focus on different ways to identify the x-intercepts of a parabola in vertex form and in standard form, okay? Before we do that, though, we're just going to start with using a table to get the answer. So an x-intercept is something that has a 0 in the y-axis. So let's look at the table here, and if you look, that's -1, 0, and 3, 0. And then they want me to sketch it, so I'll just, pen's not working, sorry. I'm going to graph it. So left 2, up 5, left 1, down 3, right 1, down 4, and then 2, -3, boom, boom. So we've done the graphing part before, that's not the hard part, but make sure you get that down and then circle the x-intercepts. Okay, this is using a table. Now, let's look here, do the same thing, find the one that has a 0 in the y-axis, and there's only 1. So now let's graph it. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Looks like that's the biggest number. So -2, -6, -1, -2, 0, -1, 1, 0, 2, -1. Done. Okay. It's not perfect, but what I want you to see is that with a table, the y-axis, or the y value is 0. Okay? Do is do it in standard form. Okay, let's make sure this is what I want. So this is what we've done before. You take the first number, okay, and now that you get that, you're just going to pick up your calculator and plug it in. So pick up your calculator now, pause it, plug it in. Okay. Oops, I feel like I messed up somewhere. Nope, I don't think I did actually. Just doing this in my head. I think I made a mistake somewhere. Sorry, that's a -2. So like 4 minus 4 is 0. Uh-oh. 4. Oops, I made a mistake. So 4 plus 4 is 8 minus 3 is 5. So I knew I made a mistake because I was getting another -3 right here, and that's too many -3s. So now there's a match. So match it up, and then identify the x-intercepts, -1, 0, 3, 0. So this looks like a very similar graph to the one above. So this is the exact same thing as the graph above. So I'm just going to go like this. It's the same graph. 1, 2, 3. And there's my graph. Okay, let's do this one. Show my work for the first one. This time I'm going to go slowly and make sure I'm good to go. Okay. Now I pick up my calculator and plug them all in. You know what? Let's make this a minus. Make this a minus, otherwise it's not going to work the way I want it to, please. So that should be a plus, and that should be 12. We're going to make that a 12. I'm sorry, didn't mean to be annoying on that one. Otherwise, the vertex isn't going to work out like I want it to. All right, finally we got the match, and that means there's the 0. Boom, there's the x-intercepts. Okay, so -2, 12, I don't have to graph. -1, 5, 0, 0, 1, -3, 2, -4, and match, match. Show the x-intercepts. Okay, honestly, my goal for this one was for you to see how can you find the x-intercepts when it's a table already given, How do you find the x-intercepts when there's a table, but you have to fill it in? And same thing now, but I want you to see the key on this one is that all of these are in standard form. And now this one is in vertex form, which means if this one's in vertex form, boom, just like that, I can get the vertex. So that means that if I can get the vertex, I know that this value and this value match, this value and this value match, this value and this value match. So I have a choice. Do I want to plug in the 0 or the 2? I'll plug in the 2 because it'll give me a positive answer. 2 minus 1 is 1. 1 squared is 1. Minus 4 is negative 3. I'll plug in the 3. 3 minus 1 is 2. Squared is 4. Minus 4 is 0. Found the x-intercepts. And then 4 minus 1 is 3. Squared is 9. Minus 4 is 5. Okay? And then I graph it. I don't know if you noticed, but this is the same one as this one. And we'll talk about that later. But I'm just going to, so I'll fake it. Negative 1, 1, 2, 3, because they're the exact same thing. And there's the x-intercepts. Okay? Remember, this is in vertex form. If it's in vertex form, boom, I can get the vertex just like that. Negative 3, negative 1. That means this will match this. I feel like vertex form is easier than standard form. So now I'm going to make a choice. I'll plug in the negative 2. Negative 2 plus 3 is 1. Squared is 1. Minus 1 is 0. Boom, I found the x-intercepts. Negative 1 plus 3 is 2. Squared is 4. Minus 1 is 3. 0 plus 3 is 3. Squared is 9. Minus 1 is 8. And then I'm just going to graph it. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 2. Honestly, you can fake the rest. So you got the negative 2 and the negative 4. And just fake it, okay? Because I want you to get the idea of the x-intercepts. All right. Now that we have a table, what are we going to do when we don't have a table and we're not going to graph it and we're not doing all that stuff? What we're going to have to do is something different. So remember how I said that this y value is 0? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 0 in for y right here. Let me zoom that in a little bit. So it's going to be 0 equals x minus 1 squared minus 4. And I have to solve. How I solve is I add 4 to both sides. And we did this before. Remember to get rid of a squared, you square root. And then I get plus or minus. I get plus or minus 2 equals x minus 1. And then I add 1. So I have two options. Positive 1 plus 2 or positive 1 minus 2. 1 plus 2 is 3. And 1 minus 2 is negative 1. But since I specifically asked for the x-intercepts, you need to give it to me as a point. Okay? Let's do number 2. Since I asked for the x-intercepts, the first thing I want you to do is set that equal to 0. I can't square root it till I get rid of the 1, so add 1 to both sides. Now square root. Plus or minus 1 equals x plus 3. Subtract 3. My two options are negative 3 plus 1, negative 3 minus 1. Negative 3 plus 1 in my calculator is negative 2. Negative 3 minus 1 in my calculator is negative 4. But I need to write it as a point because I'm going to be graphing it eventually. Let's try the next one. Anytime I want the x-intercepts, I set it equal to 0. Add 15. 15 equals x plus 3 squared. Square root. I can't take the square root of 15. Since I cannot take the square root of 15, I leave it. Now subtract 3, subtract 3. So my options are negative 3 plus square root of 15, negative 3 minus square root of 15. So now I'm going to pick up my calculator, and I'm going to go negative 3 plus second squared of 15, and I get 87 cents. So it's 0.87, comma, 0. Let me see that, sorry. And then now I go -3 minus the second square root of 15, and I get -687, comma, 0. So if I can't take the square root, leave it, and you know you're going to have to use your calculator. You could use your calculator for this one, going -3 plus 1. If you're not sure, that's great. But if you can do it in your head, that's better. All right, let's try number 4. Set it equal to 0. Oops, set it equal to 0. Plus 8, plus 8. The problem is this one is different because I still had a 2. The 2 is touching the parenthesis. Touching means multiply. The opposite is divide. Now, boom, square root, square root. Square root of 4 is 2. Subtract 1 to both sides. My two options as answers are -1 plus 2 and -1 minus 2. -1 plus 2 is 1. -1 minus 2 is -3. Okay? Next one. Set the y equal to 0. Subtract 9. Problem is there's a negative there, which means there's an imaginary -1. So I have to divide by -1. I get 9 equals x plus 5 squared. Now I'm ready to square root. Plus or minus 3 equals x plus 5 minus 5 minus 5. Two options are -5 plus 3, -5 minus 3. -5 plus 3 is -2. -5 minus 3 is -8. Next scenario, set it equal to 0. -4 minus 4, -4 equals x plus 3 squared. Square root, but uh-oh. Since I'm taking the square root of a negative, there are no x-intercepts. Because you cannot take the square root of a negative. So if there's a negative in there, there are no x-intercepts. Okay, I want to jump to number 8. Set it equal to 0, plus 3, plus 3. 3 equals 1/3 x minus 5 squared. Since this is a fraction and it's dividing by 3, the opposite is multiplying by 3. So 9 equals x minus 5 squared. Careful with that one. It's a fraction. Divide means you're going to do the opposite, which is multiply. Square root. Plus or minus 3 equals x minus 5 plus 5. My two options as answers are 5 plus 3 and 5 minus 3. 5 plus 3 is 8. 5 minus 3 is 2. Okay. Let's do the next one. Add 12. Add 12. 12 equals -4, x minus 5 squared. I can't take the square root because I have a -4 there. I get -3 equals x minus 5 squared. Square root. Uh-oh, here we go again. I have negative. Because I have a negative, there are no x-intercepts. Okay? So anytime it's negative. Okay? All right, this one you're just going to do on your own. This is part of homework. You know how to do this. So you're going to start that now, and you know the answer because we reviewed it. And your actual homework is this next page. So what I want you to do, since it's in vertex form, find the vertex. And then this number 2 is you find the x-intercepts when you set this equal to 0. Okay. Then this is using vertex form. I want you to find the vertex. And then what you're going to do is they want the line of symmetry. Remember, this line of symmetry is the x value of the vertex. And then to find the x-intercepts, you're going to set that equal to 0. And then this is review. So I want you to solve it. And this is the same thing.